WUSA 9 Weather Impact is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.
And good Tuesday morning. Saw some pretty solid showers, even a couple storms walked through yesterday. So some of us are still drying out, looking at some of those impacts outside. So we do have some localized flooding issues. So really just make sure, especially if you're starting off your day in parts of Northern Virginia, that you're keeping a very close eye on the roads as you're heading outside. Otherwise, we have another round of wet and stormy weather on the way later today. And we're just in general looking at a very wet week ahead. Most days here for the next week are going to be carrying something in the way of wet weather outside. Skies for the most part are starting to dry out a little bit more, so we're not trying to add to the problem, but we still do have a couple flood alerts to keep an eye out for just outside of Fairfax County. So Loudoun County, you're going to be looking at a flood warning going until 5:30 this morning. Most of these have started to wrap up before they actually make it towards that time frame. So again, I would just keep a little bit of a closer eye down towards the southwest of Sterling. Also over around Manassas, we do have yet another flood warning. That one's going to last until a little bit longer, up until 8 a.m. this morning. So again, just keeping in touch with how long those are going to actually last. Otherwise, a lot of us are left with some isolated impacts to flooding or to fog outside. Visibility isn't too bad here inside the Beltway, but just north of us, Gaithersburg, you're still at about 2.5 miles. So I would start to keep a close eye on these numbers, especially if they start to get a little lower. Once you start dropping down below a mile, that's where it starts to impact the roads a little bit more. Not much change coming our way in the next couple of hours. We're still keeping things cloudy. We're still keeping things fairly comfortable, at least temperature wise. Most of us sticking to the mid 70s. It does remain humid as we go throughout the rest of today. Again, a lot of moisture that we're trying to work through, so we're still feeling at least a couple degrees above the actual temperature. Later today, we're pretty in line to start, but by the time we head into this afternoon, numbers are at least cooler today, mid 80s, but still feeling close to the low 90s. 85 the high in D.C., 84 over in Manassas, 83 over in Leesburg and Baltimore. A couple other spots as well. Now today does have a 1 out of 5 risk of strong to severe weather, mostly in Northern Virginia. That same area is going to be under a 2 out of 4 risk for some isolated flooding yet again, but at this point there are no watches or warnings in effect for that later today. Things remain isolated as we head throughout most of your Tuesday. It's not until we head into the afternoon that we have more scattered activity starting to work in. Again, Northern Virginia, you're starting to get some of those heftier showers working by throughout the rest of tonight. Things look a little bit more on the lighter side here around D.C. and mostly into Virginia. And then as we head into the early morning hours of Wednesday, things are looking drier. So heading out the door, it's just going to be pretty gray, but then heading back home later tonight, this is where we're starting to pick up some of those showers and thunderstorms starting to work in. Temperatures again at the highest go up to the mid 80s. If we had one day that tried to be a little bit drier, it's going to be Wednesday, but we're still looking at 1 or 2 light showers out there. Thursday is going to ramp things back up yet again. Then as we go into Friday and Saturday, unfortunately more of an on and off to scattered chances, and then even Sunday, models at this point are trying to shape something back into the area. So the weekend does not look like the greatest one here for this forecast. Things trying to dry out finally going into early next week, but it is a decent amount of rain that's trying to fall. On average, most of us trying to get anywhere from about 1 inch to 1.5 inches here in some local spots. Humidity, unfortunately, for the next several days is going to stay fairly high. A lot of us are 70 and above for those numbers, so that means you're going to be feeling that weather outside, especially even when temperatures start to get a little bit cooler, but it's mostly pushed until the peak of the day. So again, this morning we're not feeling much warmer. Later today we will. Wednesday, temperatures go down to the low 80s, and then we do start to work the numbers back up yet again. So we go mid to 80s or mid 80s for Thursday to low 90s heading into Friday. It's trying to get a little bit cooler as we head into Saturday and Sunday, but again, still keeping an eye out for some showers and storms for both of those days. Monday of next week trying to look a little drier, a little bit of sunshine trying to work in as well with temperatures in the upper 80s.